Hello, it's Ron, the Handyman. Tips for Equestrian. Practical tips courtesy of Triple Crown Nutrition. Today we're going to cover breakaways, brake controllers, how brake controllers work, how the battery works, how your trailer brakes work. Well, we're going to start out with breakaway cables. What is a breakaway? How does it work? Is there a battery involved? What does it do? How do you hook it up? So, check it out. This is a new breakaway cable I just put on this trailer. It says warning, breakaway device only, do not use as a parking brake. The reason you don't use it as a parking brake, if it pulls out of this mechanism, it touches these two wires together, which supplies power from the breakaway battery and sends power to the brakes. Eventually, within 5 or 10 minutes, that battery is going to go dead and the trailer can start rolling away. So when you hook these breakaways up, I like to use a double-ended snap. Sometimes you can use those carabiners that have the little grooves in them. As long as it has a grooves in it, that way it doesn't bend. I put it through the loop. And then sometimes I will connect it back to itself and then pull it a little bit snug. You got to make sure it doesn't drag. If it's too long, sometimes you can connect it further back and connect it to its sleeve right there. Inside the breakaway switch, there's two metal tabs. You can see the one on the right, there's one on the left. And when you pull that pin out, that tab comes together, putting the brakes on. So if you do pull this breakaway cable, make sure it's not connected to the truck because it can backfeed through the contacts. Another way you can check to see if this breakaway battery is working, you can drive your trailer up on a block. Make sure it's not plugged into the truck so it doesn't feed back. And if you pull this out, you hear them terminals go together. That touches the terminals together and sends power from this battery directly to the magnets on the brakes, causing the wheels to lock up. So you can pull your trailer up on the blocks, pull the pin, spin the wheel, see if they're stopping. That way you know if the brakes are working. As you see, this breakaway cable is broken, tied in a knot, and it definitely needs replaced. Instead of replacing the switch, if the switch is good, you can look on here and it says Model 2010 to Concha. You can order the right size pin, but when you pull it out, make sure you're not connected to the truck. And remember, it's going to put your breakaway battery on and wear that battery down. So you pull it out for a few seconds, measure it, put it back in, and order you a new one. There is an O-ring on here. Going to make sure that O-ring stays on there. And if you do pull this out, you got to make sure you charge that battery back up. And the way this goes in is you push that in there and you'll hear it click. There you go. And see, it's locked in there. So there's your breakaway switch, and then in here is your little battery. And there's a date code on top of that battery. I recommend changing them about every 6 years. It looks like this one's from the 17th week of 2009. So this one's gonna need to be changed. It looks like it's the original battery on this trailer. So what does that brake controller do in your vehicle? Well, this is a coil. It turns magnetic when you send power through it. The more power you send through it, the more it hits on the drum. When it hits on the drum and you have the brake controller on, it pushes this little square out. You see that square? Now watch that little brake shoe move. See that brake move out there? Let me move in a little closer. See the brake move? So, what this does is when you apply power, this magnet moves, causes these brake shoes to come out. That's why you hear that clank or that noise when you're putting the brakes on and off on a trailer. And when you let off, it comes back. Another common problem is the reason you want to get these brakes checked is they do rust. If you look on this one, you see how the shoe has broken off. It's not wore out, but it has come off. And sometimes that shoe will get caught in the drum and it will cause that brake to get very hot, cause that tire to blow out. Somebody says, oh, been having problems, that right rear tire keeps blowing out. Right rear tire keeps blowing out. More than likely the brakes are dragging or they're out of adjustment or something stuck in the drum. You can see this one's kind of got normal wear on it. You want to have it checked by a professional for sure. Another problem I see on trailer brake systems is this is your brake adjuster. A lot of people adjust these up as it's jacked up and they're spinning the wheel, and they adjust it till it drags. Sometimes they make it too tight and this magnet can't move at all. And then if you turn the brake controller up, all it does is skid the tires. So you don't want to adjust these up like a car brake. You want to adjust them up and then back them off about a half turn or check with your manufacturer specifications. But don't over adjust the brakes because it won't work. It can't move. It can't move. If it can move a little bit, it can function. If it can't move, it's not going to work right. Brake controllers. There are so many different types and kinds out here. This is an old Taconcha, and there's a level adjustment. So when this is installed, that's your level adjustment. So basically, there's a little pendulum in there. When you hit your brakes, it swings forward, it puts the controller on. That adjusts your sensitivity on when you how hard you hit the brake, of how much trailer brakes comes on. On this side, there's a little adjustment, a little volume adjustment right here, and that adjusts how much power goes to the trailer brakes. And you slowly want to squeeze this when you're going down the road. When your trailer's empty, practice with it a little bit, get used to it to make sure your trailer brakes are working. Sometimes you have to turn the adjustment up if you're hauling a lot of horses. When your horse trailer is connected to your vehicle, a green light on your brake controller indicates that it is connected. When you put your foot on the brake pedal, you see it changes colors. There's a different adjustment on the right side, adjusts your power, and your level adjustments on the left side. The level adjustment is how hard the brakes come on when you hit your brake. Also, there's a manual squeeze lever on here, and you can see how that's changing color when I do that. There's there's different colors. There's like a yellow, there's an orange, and there's a red. So the lower the setting, the lighter the color is going to be. When adjusting your brakes, you only want the brakes to stop the trailer, not stop the vehicle. If you have adjusted too high, you're going to skid your tires, especially if your trailer is empty. You're probably going to need to squeeze your control a little bit when you first start out to see how your brakes are working. And when your brakes are cold, they'll be more grabby. Sometimes if your trailer has sat for a while and they're rusted, they'll lock up for a little bit. So you need to start your settings on low and gradually work them up. Boost button here, and it's got your little controller here so you can adjust your brakes or manually work brakes. On some of these controllers, they got a boost button on the top here, right there. So you hit it one time, boost, boost 1, boost 2, and boost 3, which is the heaviest setting for the biggest trailers, and then you got regular. So make sure you read your manual, figure out how that works. You can see this says connected. When you put your foot on the brake, you can see it count up, and then you can adjust it to wherever you want your setting. The lower the number, the least amount of brake; the higher the number, the more amount of brake. And the Prodigy is what's called smart controller. The harder you stop with your vehicle, the higher it will go up to stop your trailer. Well, I hope you learned something. Stay tuned for our next segment. We're going to go over trailer frames, trailer floorboards, lighting, gooseneck couplers, bumper pull couplers, and different size balls for your trailers. We're also going to cover door latches and mechanisms and how to keep them from opening while going down the road. Well, this is Ron, the Handyman. Practical tips courtesy of Triple Crown Nutrition. What's in your bucket?